All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to Slops Locks Heisman Edition. That's right. It is that time of year to throw a little cash on some kids to win the Heisman. This isn't a one-man job, though. I needed two guys to do this, and I couldn't think of a better person than the guy I have sitting here with me right now. Many call him the greatest college football mind ever to breathe air on this planet, the great Thor Nystrom from Fantasy Pros. What's up, bro?
Good to be with you, brother.
Man. Are you ready for football? Like, you got to be, right?
I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Yeah, we're almost there. So can't wait for kickoff.
Dude, I still look at FanDuel and DraftKings to see if there's player props available right now. Like every day, it's the first thing I look at. I look at the NFL and I look at college football. I know they're not going to be there, but I still look anyways. I'm that excited, man. I can't wait. It's tough to focus on baseball right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when the Prize Picks season long numbers came out, was all over them. Me and my buddies, we were texting for days with that thing. We hit those things hard. We already have 100+ yard discrepancies, advantages on a lot of those things. I hope they come out with some more, and I can't wait when they start putting out the weekly ones, because every Tuesday when Prize Picks put those out, it's like another Christmas, a bunch of Christmas presents open up. So yeah, the college player props. We were talking about this before the show, but I just got back from the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton and got to have a lot of fun conversations with people from around the industry. But I had this conversation like 20 different times, just telling people college football player props, they're the softest numbers and the easiest thing to win in all of sports gambling. If you know what you're doing, I don't want to say it's free money, but it's as close as you can get in gambling. So, I mean, like, that's the stuff you want to be doing if you know what you're doing is college football props.
All right, so here's what I have to do. I live in Massachusetts, so they don't let us bet college sports. They don't let us – I'm sorry, you can bet college sports, but just not player props. But I live very close to the New Hampshire line. So what you do is you just slip into New Hampshire. The thing is, though, you can only do DraftKings, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like when you're talking college, like if that's all I can do, then that's all I can do. I'll go to DraftKings and I'll lay down some. They're just too fun, man. They're just way too fun. And for guys like you, the reason I called you was because I know for a fact that you know like the backup center from Michigan, and you know what high school he went to, you know how old he is, what his birthday is. So you're the guy for stuff like this. So when it comes to betting the Heisman, is there something you're looking for? Like what are we looking for?
Well, quarterback pretty much to start out on a college football playoff contender, preferably. Like you go back to year 2000, what is that, 24 years now? Something like that change. Yeah, we have one receiver winner since then. Of course, that was Devonta. Mm-hmm. And I think it was 3 running backs. I had the number here. Reggie Bush, of course, Ingram, and then Derrick Henry. The rest of them are all quarterbacks, 19. So you have since 2000, 3 running backs, 1 receiver, 19 quarterbacks. You're going to play the numbers on that. Of course, it's a quarterback on a college football contender. More than half of them were from the championship team. So that's how you call this thing down. And then the statistics are the primary thing that you're looking for. And if it's going to be a team that doesn't win the title, it's a guy that puts up bazooka stats. A thing that really quickly eliminates you is simply having an injury. So you have to have a guy that goes all the way through, puts up big stats, and then makes the college football playoff. You can simply eliminate guys that play in the G5. It's just a waste to bet, and they have to be a contender. If a team hits their 4th loss, they're gone. The 3 losses, that's the most you can have. And then you're done. But yeah, we're looking for quarterbacks. It's got to be a big anomaly type season to get a non-quarterback at this point. That's what we had with Devonta. Of course, you remember that. It's just that we didn't have like the top quarterback that season. It would have been the guy throwing to Devonta, and everyone just sort of looked around and was like, Devonta's more deserving than the guy throwing to him. So they threw up their hands and they gave it to Devonta. But that was sort of an aberration type season.
Okay, so here's the thing. I just watched the Johnny Manziel Netflix special. I don't know if you saw that. It was awesome. If you haven't checked it out. But, is there a guy like that? Because he won the Heisman. He was a freshman. Is there anybody like that? He's a quarterback, so he fits that, but they were not a playoff contender. Actually, did they even have the playoffs back then?
No.
No. So it wasn't like he was on one of the top schools. But is there a guy like that this year right now that we can, I don't know, throw a flyer on?
If you were going long shot, like the come out of nowhere young guy, it would probably be a guy like Ty Simpson. If you were going to project that he's going to beat out Buckner, I'm not a big Buckner fan. I'm also not the biggest on Alabama this year, but whoever wins that job, by definition, has a shot to win the Heisman. And all three guys that are in contention for that, between Buckner, Simpson, and Milroe, I'm not a big Milroe guy because he can't throw. Great athlete, but he can't throw. He should already get on the position convert thing, because if he wants to play in the NFL, it's got to be at a different position. But between Simpson and Buckner, both of their odds are getting suppressed because nobody knows which of those three guys is going to win. But if we knew which of the Alabama quarterbacks, if one of those three guys were going to start all 12 games, obviously Alabama every single year is going to be in, contention for the CFP, which immediately puts whichever guy is starting as a contender for the Heisman. So Simpson would be a guy that I would toss out for that, just as a guy that's coming out of nowhere, quote unquote. Another guy, by definition, would have to be Kyle Mccord. I don't know age-wise if that would technically count, because I think he's been in the program now for a couple of years, but just someone that no one's heard of that's going to put up bazooka stats if he wins. And I suppose you could also do that with Devin Brown if Devin Brown upsets him, because it is kind of weird that hasn't been decided yet, when we all sort of assumed coming in that Mccord was going to win it. I was watching ESPN last night when I got back on the flight from Canton. You're always just foggy when you get back from one of those things. Yes. And so I couldn't even put sentences together. So I was just sitting there vegging out on the couch. Jordan Reed was on, and he had a take that I absolutely agreed with, which is the longer that quarterback competition goes on at Ohio State without them naming a starter, the better it is for Devin Brown. Because if that thing had been announced a week or two ago, obviously it would have been Mccord. It's like when the jury goes in to deliberate, if it comes back really quickly, it's good for the one side. And the longer it goes on, the other side is like, feeling better and better. The longer this thing goes on, the better it is for Devin Brown. The more indecision there with the coaching staff, like they're introducing doubt about the guy who's been around longer. So Devin Brown could be another guy that could sort of come out of nowhere, who's like a long shot. But I guess I would put that on Brown and Simpson, and then maybe Mccord too, just because, the casual fan doesn't know him enough. If he does hold serve in that thing, just because the weapons they got.
Okay, yes. As a former juvenile delinquent, the shorter it is, the guiltier you are. But the longer it goes, you're not guilty. So, you are correct on that. What about, what if, all right, this is crazy, but what if we were looking receiver? Is there, besides Marvin Harrison Jr.? I heard he runs 23 miles per hour. I'd have to see that to believe it, and I like to see him do it in pads. But at the same time, he's an obvious candidate for, if we don't have a quarterback that fits the parameters that we just talked about. But is there anybody else out there that maybe could slide in?
Not for me. Just because you'd have to have another one of those weird confluence seasons like we got with Devonta. Harrison's the one that makes the most sense with it, but his number is, you're just not getting a ton of value with it. Yeah. He's 20-1. He's already, top 12 on the board or so. They're just not giving you the value to make that bet. And then you look at the second guy. I think the second receiver on the board is his teammate Egbuka. That would require, I almost don't even want to put this out in the ether. You know what that would require.
Yes.
It would, yeah. So I'm not even going to say that, but it would require something that we don't want to happen for Egbuka to even have a shot. And then I don't even know who else. It's not going to be Malik Neighbors, because Malik Neighbors would need a better pocket passing quarterback throwing him the ball to even have a shot at that. I just don't see it happening for him. Johnny Wilson, get out of here. Same thing. He's just not going to put up the stats. So I just don't know what the receivers. I think there would be a better shot theoretically with one of the running backs, and also statistically over the last 25 years or whatever, we have seen a few more of the running backs. But maybe if Ole Miss had a special season, we know at the tempo that they run that offense that Quinshon Judkins is going to get a metric billion touches or whatever. I would be more apt to bet a guy like that than a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., just me personally. But I'm still, the majority of my tickets are going to be on quarterbacks, just because statistically that's your much safer bet.
All right, so wide receivers are out. You said there might be a running back, Ole Miss. I saw a picture of the Wisconsin running back. I don't even know his name, but he had no shirt on, and they said he runs like a 4.2. So, what about that guy? Like the
Braelon
first
Allar?
thing I thought was, I'd bet him right now to win the Heisman. I've never seen him play.
Yeah, Braelon Allen's a tank. Yeah, and I think some people, that Wisconsin's going from, the ground and pound system that they've had forever, like for most of our lifetimes, to now they're Phil Longo, and it's going to be aired out. And some people in their heads, they're just like, oh, that's a weird fit for Braelon Allen, and maybe Braelon Allen's numbers will go down. But you just sort of forget Phil Longo is the guy that coordinated the offenses that had, for instance, Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, different guys like that. When you go back in his history, Phil Longo's offenses, they support big numbers for running backs. I don't know how it's going to work out between Allen and, for instance, Ches Malusi. I don't know if Malusi is going to get, a similar percentage of touches that, for instance, Michael Carter got it. If you want to look at it like analogous to the UNC situation, when with Javonte and him, whatever, or if they're just gonna, over these couple of weeks, like be like, no, Braelon Allen's just next level. We're gonna give him all of the work. But I can tell you, Wisconsin's schedule this year is so friggin' easy. Like, you do the scheme change between the one to the other, and you sort of want to be like, yeah, that's going to take a little bit to acclimate, and I sort of want to shade them under. But their schedule is so easy this year, and they got so many guys in the portal that, outside of Allen, they certainly brought back some very talented players. But at some of these other key positions, they got guys who are really good system fits, Tanner Mordecai, and then some guys at other positions that are really good fits there. But also their schedule at the beginning is very easy. The harder games on their schedule are at the end, but the entire schedule is very conducive for a fast start here. I think my system had them at Wisconsin, 9.6 wins, and their win total, I think, was 8.5.
Yeah, it's 8.5.
My system is very bullish on the Badgers this year. So, if Braelon Allen does have that kind of awesome season, I expect them to be around the goal line plenty. And I know that Phil Longo gives the ball to his running backs around the goal line. And I don't expect Mr. Mordecai to do what Sam Howell did a couple years ago at UNC, which is vulture all the touchdowns from the running backs when he just started taking off all the time. And he, remember when Sam Howell ran for the 1,000 yards a couple years ago? I don't expect that to happen. I expect Braelon Allen to score a metric ton of touchdowns. So I don't mind that one for a super duper long shot, but you have to be bullish that Wisconsin is going to contend for double-digit wins if you're going to pull the trigger on Braelon Allen. But if you think that, that's absolutely one that you can do as a long shot dart.
Okay, good. So it's not just the shirt off picture. It's also the easy schedule I have in my favor now. So that's huge. That's huge. The one that I have, though, the one that I think is really going to happen, this is the time of year where you're trying to throw darts, right? But just because, no one's seen these guys play yet, so everyone's at the advantage. Well, guess what? The one guy that's not a dart that I think really has a real legitimate shot, I might sound crazy. I know you have a ticket on him at 30-1. Quinn Ewers from Texas. He's at 12, 13-1 right now. Would you still do that? And you don't know you could have had 31 before. Would you still do that?
I think it's still worth wetting the beak. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why those odds have come crashing down since early, from a couple months ago where you could have gotten it to now. The heavy hitters in the market have zeroed in on a couple of these guys, Quinn Ewers being one of them. And the thought process makes all kinds of sense there. And I'll tell you, I also have tickets on Texas plus 7.5 against Alabama, Texas money line against Alabama in week 2. I think Texas.
I don't want to interrupt you, Thor. Yeah. That's why I'm saying, do you bet it now? Because if they beat Bama week 2, then you're never going to see 13-1. You know what I mean?
That's
because they're kind of going to go on a run after that. Just if you look at their schedule, then now you're out. You know what I mean? You're completely out on Ewers. So you'd have to do it now. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, if Texas beats Alabama in that game, you won't see 13-1 again. These are the best odds that you're going to get Ewers. Obviously, if Alabama holds serve in that game, then it's maybe yeah. But if Texas pulls that upset, Quinn Ewers might be number 2 on the odds boards after that week, only to Caleb Williams. I would but Caleb Williams has the easiest schedule in the world at the beginning of the season. It's San Jose State and then Nevada, and he's got all these cans at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, Quinn Ewers is going to skyrocket up on that. I think, I don't know, fourth, fifth, wherever he is right now. But he's going to go up to 2 if they pull that upset. And as long as he stays healthy this year, which I think he's got a better shot to do. Not only did he cut his mullet off, like the Simpson thing, but he's got in much better shape. He's eating better. So hopefully we don't see, another injury. Hopefully that increases the odds. We don't see that gets through the entire season. They have some of the sickest weapons in the nation. Yeah, they did lose Bijan and Roschon, but they have 2 5-star running backs coming back. They also had the veteran Jonathan Brooks, who very reliable. But their receiving core is absolutely nasty. 5 deep, and then a stud tight end as well. Plus 5 returning offensive linemen coming back who were starters last year.
I think, to be honest with you, I think that team's going to the playoffs because if they get by, especially if they have 2 ways. Because even if they don't get by Bama, they could still run the table. I mean, Oklahoma obviously is going to be a problem, but they beat them 49-0 last year. Oklahoma was barely bowl eligible last year. So I mean, it's not like this is this behemoth that they've always been. And then TCU and Kansas State are the only other 2 that. Those should be tough games, but at the end of the day, what if Texas is just really that good? Then you're looking at an 11-1 season, and guess what? You've got a college football playoff berth, and you might have a Heisman Trophy winner.
1,000%. Yeah. In my preseason power rankings, I have Texas 4th, and the next highest team in the Big 12 is Oklahoma in my power rankings, and I think I have them 19th or 20th. These are a qualitative ranking. That is an enormous discrepancy in a Power 5 conference between the number 1 and the number 2. And then you have a bunch of teams, like a sort of a quagmire there, Texas Tech and Kansas State. You were tossing a couple of them out, but you have a bunch of teams just sort of grouped there. The second tier of the Big 12, that's where it's tightly packed, but there's nobody even close to Texas. As long as they stay healthy, they're going to run through that thing. It's going to be a buzzsaw. So I agree with you. They have leeway to lose to Alabama. As long as they run the table after that, they're still going to make the playoff. And if they make the playoff and Ewers starts the entire time, he's going to be in New York one way or the other.
Agreed. Awesome. That's great to hear. Well, is there anybody else, any one other kid that deserves to have their name mentioned by the great Thor Nystrom before we wrap this thing up?
A couple guys I'd toss out. One of them, another guy that I bet, well, a couple ones that I bet earlier in the process, Joe Milton. His odds have come down a little bit, but not by quite as much as Ewers. And I think his value, it might even be a little bit better right now just because it hasn't come down quite as much. At DK, I'm seeing he's plus 2,200 right now. So I think the value is still there as another guy that his team can push for double-digit wins. And the bazooka numbers could still be there for Bazooka Joe. Drew Allar, I think, is worth a look too. I really like that Penn State team. They have a ton of talent, and Drew Allar is an NFL type prospect type talent. He's another guy we could have tossed up potentially for the Johnny Manziel thing. Okay. Allar moving into his 2nd year. We did see a little bit of him last year. We got to see him just in a couple games, the Minnesota game being one when Clifford went down. But just fabulous backfield there with Singleton and then Allen and then with Allar playing next to them. Michigan, obviously, Michigan's my pick to win the national title this year, not just the Big Ten, whatever. And then you obviously have Ohio State in the same division or whatever. But Penn State is very, very good. And I think Allar's worth a look for that reason. And then the other one I toss out at 16-1 is Michael Pennix, just because I think they have a shot to get into the playoff as well. And we know that Pennix is going to throw for a gajillion yards this year. Yep. He just needs to stay healthy. He did it last year. If he does it this year again, he's going to throw for over 4,000 yards. That's just money in the bank. So those would be guys that I'd toss out as far as realistic guys that are, not at the very top of the board, but, realistic possibilities that could potentially bring it home.
Yeah, see, my dream is to, on the Heisman Saturday, have 4 guys that are all in New York that I have giant tickets on, and no matter what, I can win. That would be that's the dream. That's the dream. So I hope that gets everyone here. That got me there. I'm gonna literally log off of here and go bet pretty much every guy you just said. But Thor, thanks for coming in, man. It was a pleasure. And guys, I'll see you later.
Appreciate it.